James Bond, No Time to Die, 2021. Bond doesn't get the girl. He doesn't save the day. He dies, on purpose. And not in a heroic blaze of glory, but as a self-sacrificing dad with unresolved feelings and a nanobot infection.
I know.
Released in October 2021 and directed by Cary Joji Fukunaga, No Time to Die was the fifth and final James Bond film starring Daniel Craig. It carried a production budget of around $250 million and grossed $774 million worldwide. But beneath the box office success was a very different kind of Bond film, one that sparked debate over whether this was evolution or execution. Craig's Bond was always grittier, but in this film, he's broken down completely. He's retired, he's emotional.
This is it. This is it.
He has a daughter, and his replacement, Lashana Lynch as Nomi, the new 007. She's black, female, and doesn't drink to cope with trauma. She also calls the shots while Bond follows orders. It's a clear baton pass, and some fans didn't love what it represented. Phoebe Waller-Bridge was brought in to revise the script, adding what producers called modern sensibility. The director even said earlier Bond films featured scenes that wouldn't fly today. And just like that, 007 became self-aware. Instead of one-liners and gadgets, we got co-parenting and sacrifice.
Where are you?
Is it done?
James.
Yes, he's dead.
The reaction was split. Critics praised the emotional weight. Some fans saw it differently. Others saw it was as the moment Bond stopped being Bond and became a symbol of what the franchise used to be. For a series that built its brand on masculine cool, No Time to Die felt like a long, stylish apology. They didn't just kill Bond. They retired him with a hug and handed the keys to HR on the way out.
I'm glad I'm sort of ending it on my own terms, which is really, I'm grateful to the producers for allowing me to do that.
Ocean's 8, 2018. Danny Ocean's dead. That's how the film opens. No funeral, no flashback, just a headstone and a smirk.
You would have loved it.
But don't worry, his sister Debbie is here to carry on the family legacy, and apparently the cultural messaging too. Released in June 2018 and directed by Gary Ross, Ocean's 8 flips the all-male heist crew on its head. Sandra Bullock stars as Debbie Ocean, fresh out of prison, and recruiting an all-female team to rob a $150 million diamond necklace at the Met Gala. The cast is stacked: Cate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway, Mindy Kaling, Awkwafina, Rihanna, Helena Bonham Carter, and Sarah Paulson. Budget, $70 million. Box office, nearly $300 million worldwide. On paper, it should have worked, but critics gave it a lukewarm 69% on Rotten Tomatoes and 61% on Metacritic. Audiences liked the idea more than the execution. The heist was tame, the plot was thin, and the charisma, the core of the original trilogy, was replaced with cautious, committee-approved competence.
Okay, went up. Police coming, Cartier coming, a bunch of news people coming.
And here's where things get blurry. Mindy Kaling blamed the mixed reviews on too many white male critics. Cate Blanchett said the media hadn't caught up with cultural change. But viewers didn't push back because the cast was women. They pushed back because it felt like the soul of the franchise had been swapped out quietly. This wasn't a continuation, it was a reset. Danny Ocean's death happens off-screen, unceremoniously, as if to say, we're done with that now. What followed wasn't a bold reinvention, just a studio-safe attempt to repackage charm as representation. They didn't just rob Cartier. They stole the franchise's identity, then walked away like nothing happened. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, 2017. By the time Dead Men Tell No Tales washed ashore in 2017, the Pirates franchise had already started to rot. Jack Sparrow wasn't just drunk anymore, he was tired. And the plot? That had walked the plank 3 films ago.
So pay for what you did to me.
There's no need to bother, really. Karina! I have no time to...
Directed by Joachim Renning and Espen Sandberg, this 5th entry was supposed to revive the series. It had a bloated $230 million budget and grossed $795 million globally. Sounds decent, until you consider that it made over $250 million less than its predecessor. Critics gave it a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. And audiences? They mostly forgot it existed by the time they left the theater. Enter Karina Smythe, played by Kaya Scodelario, an 18th century astronomer, horologist, yes, really, and feminist symbol with a telescope. She's smart, no nonsense, and spends most of the film reminding men that women can do science too. Which would have been refreshing if the movie didn't keep turning her intelligence into a running joke. Every time she said horologist, some pirate snickered like she'd confessed to a career in adult films.
No, I'm a horologist.
So was my mum.
but she didn't crow about it as loud as you.
The idea was clear. Karina was there to balance out Jack's drunken chaos. But in the process, the franchise tipped too far. Elizabeth Swann, once a swashbuckling equal, was gone. Karina replaced her not with a sword, but with exposition. And when the biggest emotional payoff is a surprise, I'm your long-lost daughter twist, you know the compass is broken. They didn't just kill the magic. They charted a new course no one asked to follow. Black Widow, 2021. After a decade of Avengers films, Black Widow finally got her solo movie, right after her character was killed off. Timing's everything. Directed by Kate Shortland and released in July 2021, Black Widow was meant to be Natasha Romanoff's long overdue spotlight. Instead, it became the MCU's apology tour. The film had a production budget of $200 million and earned $379 million at the box office, a steep drop from other Marvel entries. Critics gave it an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, but fans were divided. Many saw it less as a send-off and more like a retroactive fix. Scarlett Johansson's Natasha is joined by Florence Pugh's Yelena, her sarcastic, younger sister who quickly steals the spotlight. The plot centers around dismantling the Red Room, a Soviet-style facility that traffics and brainwashes young women into becoming assassins. The villain, a controlling male figure who refers to girls as the only natural resource the world has too much of. The message wasn't subtle, neither were the rewrites. Natasha's character, once defined by guilt, secrecy, and morally gray choices, is cleaned up and reframed as a feminist martyr. Her trauma, particularly the forced sterilization mentioned in Age of Ultron, becomes the moral core of the film, and every bit of spy thriller action is padded with commentary about bodily autonomy, found family, and patriarchal abuse. They didn't just give Black Widow her own movie, they gave her a retroactive makeover and handed her legacy to the girl who made fun of her superhero landing.
This thing that you do when you whip your hair when you're fighting with the arm and the hair and you do like a fighting pose.
The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, 2023. The Capitol's back, the Hunger Games are still murder, and now we're supposed to feel bad for the guy who turned them into national television. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, released in November 2023, directed by Francis Lawrence, the same director behind 3 of the 4 original Hunger Games films. Budgeted at around $100 million, it earned $337 million globally. Solid, but not on par with the original series. Critics sat at 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. Fans? Confused mostly. The prequel follows a young Coriolanus Snow, long before he became Panem's dictator. He mentors Lucy Gray Baird, a rebellious tribute from District 12, with a guitar and a suspicious amount of charm. She sings her way through public sympathy while Snow spirals into ambition, betrayal, and eyeliner.
Than later that I'm 6 feet under. It's sooner than later that you'll be.
It's part dystopia, part YA romance, part Capital TED Talk on the dangers of authoritarian branding. This isn't a Hunger Games prequel. It's a recontextualization, a soft reboot meant to humanize a villain and repurpose a franchise for post-pandemic, media skeptic Gen Z. Coriolanus isn't just a future tyrant. He's a cautionary tale about whiteness, class power, and what happens when institutions give narcissists too much screen time. Viola Davis plays the villainous Dr. Gall like she's running a Stanford prison experiment, and Peter Dinklage broods his way through academic guilt. Meanwhile, Snow's inner monologue does a full 180 from star-crossed lover to full-blown fascist over the course of 2 acts.
What does my mentor do besides bring me roses?
I do my best to take care of you.
They didn't just bring back the Hunger Games, they turned them into a prequel about red flags you'll probably ignore anyway. The Witcher, Netflix series, 2019 to current. When Netflix picked up The Witcher, fans expected monster hunts, sword fights, and Henry Cavill grunting his way through Slavic mythology. Instead, they got a fantasy epic with more timeline jumps, race swaps, and gender politics than most political science courses.
We don't want your kind here.
Hunting monsters for a price.
Season 1 dropped in December 2019, starring Cavill as Geralt of Rivia, a brooding mutant monster hunter with a heart of stone and a bathtub that launched 1,000 memes. Based on the novels by Andrzej Sapkowski, the show was initially praised for its world building and action, but by Season 2, something cracked. Storylines shifted away from Geralt, lore was bent, and by Season 3, the internet was on fire. Behind the scenes, reports leaked that the writers didn't like the source material. Fans weren't just irritated, they were outraged. Cavill, a known Witcher superfan, exited after Season 3 and was quietly replaced by Liam Hemsworth. That's when the backlash exploded. Cavill had reportedly pushed to stick to canon. Netflix, meanwhile, leaned into a broader, more inclusive world. Diverse casting, expanded roles for female characters, and modern dialogue that felt ripped from Twitter. What started as prestige fantasy devolved into a think piece battlefield, with Geralt caught in the middle. They didn't just lose their lead, they lost the plot, the tone, and half their fan base with him. Jurassic World Rebirth 2025. The dinosaurs are back, again, but this time they come with climate metaphors, pharmaceutical medical ethics, and Scarlett Johansson. Because why just run from a T-Rex when you can make it a global healthcare discussion? Jurassic World: Rebirth released in July 2025 as a hard reboot of the $6 billion franchise. Directed by Gareth Edwards and produced by Universal, it launched the start of a new trilogy with a reported budget of $185 million. It stars Scarlett Johansson as Zora Bennett, a covert operations expert, and Mahershala Ali as a charismatic paleontologist trying to unlock the medical potential of dinosaur DNA.
If we get this DNA, millions of lives are saved.
Gone are the familiar faces like Owen and Claire. Gone too is the theme park chaos. Instead, the story pivots toward a more serious premise. Dinosaurs aren't just spectacle. They might be the key to curing heart disease. Critics called it a more mature entry. Audiences? Some called it a 2-hour TED Talk with teeth. Rebirth isn't a sequel. It's a course correction. A deliberate shift from crowd-pleasing dino thrills to moral storytelling. Pro-diversity, anti-corporate, and quietly anti-capitalist. They didn't just bring back the dinosaurs. They gave them ethics, equity, and a social license to operate. Toy Story 4. 2019, Toy Story 3 ended perfectly. The toys were passed on, Andy drove off, and everyone cried. Then Toy Story 4 came along in 2019 and quietly unstitched everything that made the trilogy great. Directed by Josh Cooley and released by Pixar and Disney, the film had a $200 million budget and grossed over $1.07 billion worldwide. Critically, it was a hit, 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. But longtime fans weren't all cheering. Many walked away with the same uncomfortable thought. Why does Woody feel like a guest in his own story? The film opens with Woody being sidelined by Bonnie, forgotten in the closet. Bo Peep, now living free and wild on her own, re-enters as a fierce, cape-wearing survivalist who doesn't need kids or cowboys. Woody spends most of the film following her lead, questioning his purpose, and eventually leaving behind the child he was sworn to protect.
Sometimes they get left in the yard or put in the wrong box.
This wasn't just a sequel, it was a philosophical rebrand. The loyal, selfless Woody who'd do anything for his kid becomes a lost soul chasing personal liberation.
Billy, Goat, Gruff, take care of her, girls.
Bo Peep, once delicate and gentle, returns as a lantern-jawed feminist icon with one functioning arm and no time for traditional roles. Even Forky, a trash-obsessed spork having an existential crisis, feels like a metaphor for identity confusion. They didn't just say goodbye to Woody, they sent him off to find himself and forgot the kid who needed him most. Time's up. Comment and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. Thanks for watching.